Hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Here in Italy is almost evening, and welcome to this session of the 1948 session of the Jewelry Boutique. And please pop any question at any time.
Are you sure
My
you
name
muted?
is
I'm scared to
Mara
talk.
Bragaya, and today I have the great honor to be sharing the screen with Stuart Poole. And to me, it is always really inspiring to be hearing from Stuart because he's been my color gem supplier since I cannot even remember, probably uh, since I was able to actually buy precious gems. So uh, through the years, I've been learning so much from his and his many projects. So hi, Stuart.
Hello.
I'm really excited to be for today.
Me too.
I have to say that it's not been easy because you're such a kind of rock star that I was really afraid of missing something. But I tried to write down an introduction. Would you like me to go on with it, or would you prefer introducing yourself?
No, I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say about me.
Okay, you choose. Then I read it.
Over
My name
to
is-
you.
Yes, I have written down. Ace is specialist in responsible mining and traceable colored gemstones. Stuart, together with a partner, runs the gem trading company 1948, allowing us to work with beautiful material coming from a traceable and transparent supply chain that originates in Sri Lanka. There, Stuart and his partner actually operate a mining operation themselves and a cutting workshop too. Stuart is also the co-founder of Fair Luxury, a group of UK-based change makers that has always been doing an amazing educational work. And I do believe that I can luckily call myself one of the beneficiaries of that work. Last, but just from a chronological perspective, Stuart is a key member of the Maya Gem project, which is probably much more than a mine-to-market initiative. Did you leave something behind?
Sorry?
Did you leave something behind? Would you like to add something? It's been hard
something
doing
on
this.
No,
You do
those
so
are the
many
main
things.
things. Those are the main things that I've involved in. Yep. So,
Okay, that's great. Begin.
no, thank you for that amazing introduction. And no, I'm really happy to be here today for this session to talk about all things relating to my business, 1948. I think, yes, you mentioned about the source countries, but the other thing is that I'm actually based in the UK. So
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. So because people often read the website and then they contact me and they say, oh, where are you? Are you in Sri Lanka? Are you in Tanzania?
Good point.
Of course, for the last almost 2 years now, I've been mostly exclusively in the UK. In fact, so it was March 2020 when I came back from Sri Lanka. That was my last trip out into the field.
Wow. I remember it. I remember.
Yes.
You came back when we were already in lockdown here in Italy. Wow, it's a long time.
Yes, it was. Yeah, exactly. It was one of the last flights from Sri Lanka getting back to the UK at towards the end of March. And already things were quite problematic in Italy. So yes.
Well, you do so many things that I really don't know where to start from. But then I remember a question that once came from one of my collectors. As you know, I'm always trying to tell them what to do and give them all the updates that comes from the different projects. And once one person asked me what are the differences and even the challenges in mining operations in Sri Lanka and Tanzania. As you know, they were so thrilled by what was able to become the Maya Gem in such a short time that they were wondering how that was possible because you were more working on the Sri Lankan side.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is an interesting question because so when I, as a bit of background, when I came into the industry, I had really no knowledge about gemstones. So I came from a very clean start of not understanding anything about gemstones, of mining, of anything at all. And it was really fortunate that we started in Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka has a really long history and heritage of gemstone mining. And when you're working with them, then you're working within quite a well-defined structure, which has been established over a really long time. People have been mining there for generations. and so the miners are very competent, and they're all formal. There's a proper legal structure that you can follow, and so of course that was my first experience. I thought, wow, this is amazing. We can come here, we can work with the miners, we can walk up to the gem mines literally to have a look ourselves. Even on our first visit to Sri Lanka, we connected with the government agency, the Gem Authority in Sri Lanka, and they arranged a trip to a mine for us, and we were able to talk with the miners directly within a few days of landing in the country. So it's amazing. Oh, actually, Charles just said there's a lot of background noise. Would you mute, Mara? Could you
Yeah.
mute and see if that helps?
What happened?
There's a bit of background noise.
There. I'm not sure that I can see the audience where I am now.
Right.
Yes, but I'll try to. Is it better now?
Maybe
I'm sorry for this.
between questions, and then that might be better. But yes, so we had this situation in Sri Lanka where we had a very good structure and a really organized framework, and that then put me in a really good position. So I thought, oh, this is quite straightforward. When you're coming to mining, trading, you can do things in a legal and licensed way, and that's better. And so then when I moved into working in Tanzania, of course, it's a situation where the country is much newer to gemstone mining and to formal gemstone mining. So what that meant was that there's more work to do, I think, which is great, but there's more opportunity because of that. So the situation I faced with in Sri Lanka is that it's quite difficult, especially for a relatively small business like ours. It's difficult to make a change when the system is established and when everyone's fairly happy, with how things are. Then making changes to that system is not so straightforward. But in Tanzania, by comparison, you have a situation where for example, the government and certainly the miners, they know that they're new to mining. They're new to this industry in a large scale, certainly, and that they are then receptive to making changes. So whilst some days, you sit there and you think, wow, there's so much work to do, because there are so many things we want to do, and we want to do them really quickly, and we want to implement changes. But of course, you have to take it one step at a time. But I think it's great that the potential, for example, in Tanzania is so wide that we can bring through Moyo and hopefully through other similar projects, we can bring lots of benefits to the miners in a different way compared to Sri Lanka. And then lastly, I would say that my biggest challenge in Sri Lanka in terms of making a change has been the introduction of protective equipment, because my miners, it's not a customary thing for them to wear that, and that because it's been because the mining has been going on for generations, it's just that they would say, well, my father, my grandfather, my great grandfather, they didn't have this equipment. And so we're getting to a point now where I'm hoping we can encourage more use of PPE, of the protective equipment. But that's been my biggest challenge, and the thing that has been a real issue for me personally during these times. But we're doing really well, and I hope that in the near future now that we have a team that they know us and that they work well with us, and that they will at least entertain the idea of wearing more PPE. Whereas the ladies in Tanzania that we work with, as soon as we got them some protective equipment, they put it on, they loved it. They could see the benefits straight away. So.
It's just a last minute idea, but I remember some pictures that you published. Do you think it may be possible to show them to the audience? I remember the women from Tanzania with the yellow jackets and the kind of protective for the head. And I also remember some images from the miners in Sri Lanka. I remember you used those pictures for a presentation. I don't know, maybe it's just a last minute idea.
I do have them here.
They're great, as always.
I will do my best to share them. I haven't experimented with the screen share, so let's see what happens. And let's see if I can bring them up.
In the best case, we'll have miners on screen.
Yes.
In the worst case, nothing will happen.
That's right. So let's see if we can optimize this and press the right button.
I remember those pictures, and to me, they were so impressive. Just the fact that on one side there were so many women, that was impressive compared to what I remember from the pictures you showed us from the Sri Lankan mines.
Okay, you have to tell me if this is showing on your screen.
Not yet. Yes, it is.
Okay.
You made it. Great.
Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger, because that doesn't look very big on my screen. So I think the let's do that. I think the pictures you were speaking about were something like this.
Exactly.
Yep. So we have here on the left-hand side there is a team from Tanzania, and you can see that's a mixed gender. So there's the lady there who is actually running the team, and they're working together with some of the male miners. Whereas on the right-hand side there, we have one of our teams from an earlier project in Sri Lanka, and it's very much a male environment. So that's again something that's probably going to be beyond me to be able to change that aspect of Sri Lankan mining, unfortunately. But certainly, there is that kind of difference, and you can see. Oops, sorry, I've gone too far. In the middle there, some of the basic tools, the hand tools that they use for the artisanal mining. We have a few more members of the Mining Association, the Women's Miners Association in Tanzania, just there. So TAWOMA is the acronym for Tanzanian Women's Miners Association. And then you can see the different styles of similar but different, the styles of mines in the two countries. So the two left-hand pictures are of a shaft mine in Sri Lanka, and whereas you can see on the right-hand side a much larger scale mine, kind of deeper pit, if you like, in Tanzania. But the interesting things to notice here are that you can see that the Sri Lankan mine, there are lots of supports there in place, and there's a hand winch that they built on the site. So whilst it's still using people power and there's nothing particularly mechanized, but the techniques and the equipment that they can put together and they can produce and use are more advanced than we might see in the Tanzanian example. And you can see here that actually in Sri Lanka, the techniques allow them to go to quite some depth with a relatively narrow mine entrance compared to that large mine entrance that we saw, or the top of the hole that we saw in the Tanzanian picture. So I think those are the photos that you were hoping for me to show you.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Before we just mentioned women, and I remember from a post I read on your Instagram account that recently in your cutting workshop in Sri Lanka were recruited to women. Am I wrong?
No, that's absolutely correct. Well spotted. Yes. So as well as the mining side in both Sri Lanka and Tanzania, it was always our intention to be able to complete the supply chain by setting up our own cutting workshop. And a few years ago, we were able to do that and purchase the equipment. And we started off with just a couple of cutters who were both male, because they were the people that we knew and they were available and wanted to work with us. So that was great. But it's always especially because the mining in Sri Lanka will never have gender balance, unfortunately. That I was very keen that at least in our cutting workshop we would give opportunities to some women. And we were lucky as a kind of an effect from the pandemic, which was unfortunate in as much as one other cutting workshop closed down. But it meant that these two new cutters became available, and we were able to give them jobs. So I was really, it was a good thing that we did, and it was great that we were certainly able to get some women into the cutting team. So I'm really glad about that. And we still have every intention. Our workshop is large enough that we can cater for some more cutters. And as the situation improves in Sri Lanka, then we certainly will look to employ other people, but also hopefully to offer some trainee positions and apprenticeships to both men and women, and hopefully be able to develop some more employment opportunities in the country.
Thank you, Stuart. And now I just follow what you say and go on with questions. You mentioned the pandemic. I imagine that once in good old days before the pandemic, you were traveling a lot, visiting mine sites and cutting workshop. So now things, how are they working for you, both with Moyo Gems and the Sri Lankan side?
I think I've been incredibly fortunate in as much as the business was sufficiently well established that I had really, really good trusted partners in both Sri Lanka and Tanzania. And very fortunately, everyone in our little group, our teams, has stayed healthy. So long may that continue. And because I've already had these relationships that had been built up over the previous years, then we've been able to operate relatively normally. Of course, there have been disruptions. There have been closures of the things like the government offices have been closed. Import and export has been more difficult. But overall, I would say that we have managed to keep things going fairly well during the whole 18 months or so. We're currently at the stage where in Sri Lanka, our miners are allowed back to work. Of course, they're working in the open air, and there's only a few of them in a field, so it's not close proximity very often. Our cutting team, they have their own workshops in their own houses. So currently, we just have one cutter in our own workshop, and then the other three are working independently, and they're just waiting for their second vaccinations now. And then hopefully we'll be able to get them back together and working properly as a team again. So everyone's put in an incredible amount of effort. They've tried really hard within all their local restrictions in both Sri Lanka and Tanzania with regards to just simple movement around the country and things like that. And yes, they've done a fantastic job. So I'm very, very grateful to all of the people that I know in both places. And in Tanzania was quite incredible that we managed to remotely interact with the miners in a fairly normal way for the market days there, and for the buying of the rough material from them. So the credit goes to so many people. I can't even start to name all the people that took part in the team effort to make that happen. But yeah, it's been okay. And the important thing is, of course, that we've managed to keep the money flowing to the miners and to the cutters where it's needed the most.
I really have questions about the Moyo projects, because I've read that there are some material coming from a new market day, and that material is currently, if I'm not wrong, on its way to Sri Lanka. But there was a super interesting question, as Patty asks, does the Tanzanian government own the mines?
No, the miners operate their own mines. So the Tanzanian government, I think they do own mines themselves. I'm sure in Sri Lanka, the government has their own mines that they run themselves and operate. But in both cases, the mines are a lot of the mines are independently owned and run.
Hence the great impact of the initiative and the project. That's so great. I'm so proud of being able to use those gems, really. We have to say this.
Thank you. It's your support is greatly appreciated. And in fact, of course, that's the other thing that I didn't just mention in my answer, is that our customers are the other amazing part of the chain, because without people like yourself and the other fantastic customers that I have, without them buying the stones, then I wouldn't have the money to fund the purchase of more things from the miners. So it's all part of the chain. It's all part of the cycle. And I've been really fortunate that in times that have been difficult for everyone, that my kind of core of loyal customers has been there, trying to keep things going from their end as well. So
you have to know this, as I've never had the chance to mention this, as we've not been able to talk face to face the recent past. I don't know why my customers became really fond with the gems from the Moyo project, and that to me is kind of strange, because they know you, they're really aware that they come from the same person that takes care of the gem from the Sri Lanka. So the values and the workshop, independent workshop behind are the same, but they're really fun with the Moyo gems, and they're often asking me, "Oh, are there some new Moyo gems coming in? Are there some Moyo gem available for this design?" And I think that the reason is because they've been able to observe the development of this project, as they remembered when I referred them your talk at the conference in Scotland. That was even before the first market day. Then they remembered the first market day and the first batch of gems arriving. And I think that's maybe the famous part of the the telling stories part, and that has its effect. But now we were discussing Maya gems, there are so many questions coming up in my mind. And really, from a very practical perspective, how was it possible to manage the market days now that but you and Monica were able to be there? Because since the environmental landscape is so much different and even more challenging compared to the Sri Lankan one.
Yes. As I say, we've been able to manage it because we have a fantastic team on the ground in Tanzania, and we have one particular person who is our key representative there, and we brief him on the types of material that we're looking for. Over time, the miners, because we have a good relationship with them, then they know the types of things that we are generally looking for. And so they try to focus on those. And through our representative, then we've been able to make the purchases. So it's really down to his efforts that we've been able to keep things going.
That's great, really. Not leaving the miners so admired.
Thank you. And in terms of the new stones, so we have some stones that are actually, they have been cut already at our workshop. So those are the ones from the previous market day, and they should be with me really soon. Unfortunately, they weren't here in time for this event, but they should be hopefully going up on the website in the coming weeks. And then the most recent market day that we had was only in October. And so that material is currently on its way from Tanzania to Sri Lanka. Hopefully that will be in our workshop within the next week or so. And then the team will be working on that probably over the Christmas period. And we would look to have that in the new year for any events that we have then.
Can't wait, really. For my own account, really.
And in normal times, of course, those would be the stones that I would be taking to Tucson. But unfortunately, it's very unlikely that I'm going to make Tucson next year. So it means that I will have those in the UK for my European customers. Not leaving out my US customers, of course. But yes, so they will be there.
I think that maybe we can go on with this for hours, but I'm afraid that there's just some tiny time left to show some gemstones if you have them.
Just a few. Okay. Well,
I think that there are just a couple of minutes left, maybe. Is that
I
possible?
think so.
Time
Yeah,
flies.
just 5 minutes. These sessions go really quickly. They really do. So, but I see Brian there saying that I need to get back out to the desert, and I would dearly love to, and I will do for sure. It just might not be in February, unfortunately. So, but I'll be there again. I miss it. So I thought I would just pick on a couple of stones because they are notoriously difficult to show, especially the smaller ones. And thanks, Brian. Yes, the smaller ones are hard to show. So this is the
Biggest one.
this is the main stone that I would say that we are known for and have been known for, which is the Sri Lankan blue sapphire. And I'm going to hold it up to my camera and hope that you get at least a vague recognition of what it looks like there. So I think that's the largest Sri Lankan one I have in my collection at the moment, which is 3.4 carats.
That blew up blazes with its color. Really?
Yes. The camera doesn't do it justice, but and then I thought I would just pick a couple of the larger Sri Lankan stones. So of course with things like amethyst, we get quite large pieces. So you can see there I'm not sure if the purple doesn't really come up.
Is it the camera or is it the color that's really peculiar?
Yeah, it's quite a light purple. I think it's the camera, unfortunately.
Okay.
And probably my lighting in here isn't the best. And then this other large citrine that I have in stock at the moment, that you can see that color a bit better, I think.
Has this been treated, or that yellow is?
So with amethyst and citrine, quite often they would be heat treated, but we try not to. So in our workshop, we actually have a very basic furnace for heat treatment, and we will from time to time heat treat the sapphires. But with the other stones, we prefer to leave them natural, even if it means that they still have some inclusions or they're not the optimal color. And then from Tanzania, just a few from the Moyo project. These are all available on our website. So this is an aquamarine, quite a large one there, almost 14 karat aquamarine. And then I hope this color comes across because it's a really beautiful color, tourmaline, golden color tourmaline, which is really quite a vibrant color. And then,
it is on the website, isn't it?
That's this one. Yeah, these are all.
I recognize it. So beautiful.
And then this is one of my particular favorites. It's just a piece of beryl that we had from one of the market days, but it cut really nicely. It does have a few tiny inclusions, but it's a very pale green. Unfortunately, I think it looks white there on the camera. But if you go on the website, you'll see a better photo of it. And
yes,
then,
please, you're all invited to go visit Stuart's website, which is really great. There are a lot of gemstones and everything you want to, even rough gems sometimes. Am I wrong?
Sometimes, yes, there are.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I thought I would show this one. This one came from one of our early mining projects. This is also an aquamarine, although very pale. The
huge one.
Light blue. This is the 60 carat aquamarine. So
I think I had the chance to look at in person, in real life. It stole my heart since there.
I'm looking forward to one day when someone has a project that needs a really big aquamarine. So,
really want to be that person.
But I will just put in the chat. I know we've only got a minute or so left. I'll just put my social media links and things like that, so that.
And I really invite you to start following Stuart on his Instagram because it's really full of images and updates, and there is everything. Even his newsletter is great, I must say. I'm a super satisfied customer.
Oh, thank you. And I'll just put in one link to our blog, which was the history of the first 10 years, because earlier this year in April we've had 10 years in business, and so that's a little bit of a history. So things that I haven't been able to today, then you'll be able to have a look on the blog. But I will be around, of course, in the reception area in the booth. So please come and have a chat with me afterwards, and in between times I will try and stay till the end of proceedings today, even though they'll be quite late in the UK, and even later in Italy.
Just 1 hour.
Yes.
So what's me left to say?
We're just thank you everyone for coming along and listening.
Thank you,
Mara, for being a fantastic interviewer.
It's always a pleasure.
Facilitating.
Can't wait to
the
hug you
discussion.
again in person.
Yeah, and yes, I look forward to when we see each other, either in the UK, maybe in Chicago next year. Who knows? But it will be a time. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.